So this is going to be a series of tips over the next few videos about intensity builds in writing, intensity builds in production, and intensity builds in the edit and post-production. Once you get into production, now you have the task of making sure that your performance builds in intensity, which can be hard in filmmaking because we're filming in a very fragmented way. This isn't theater where, the actors get to run the whole thing in the order of the play and, manage that performance. Sometimes you're just shooting a couple of lines in a close-up, or things out of order. So you kind of have to remind your actors where are they coming from and where are they going in this scene so that they can kind of build that performance in this very kind of fragmented way. And so that could be the toughest challenge is, if your performance doesn't have the intensity build that you need, there are some tricks that we'll talk about for how to kind of build intensity into the edit, but your task on set is to make sure that that performance, it has the life that you think is going to work. And the other key thing when you're going into production is to make sure that you have coverage. I love oneers as much as the next person, but even if you're planning a oneer, shoot some backup coverage in case something falls apart. I mean, even Hitchcock had to fix what he thought was going to be a continuous take out of the psycho shower scene when she took a breath. So, things happen. And so make sure that you have coverage and that coverage is from a variety of angles and, more importantly, shot sizes, because the most intense shot size is going to be your extreme close-up on somebody's face. Now, you might not need an extreme close-up on somebody's face unless you're shooting the Blair Witch Project or something like that. But anything that's close, the tighter you get, the camera is a proxy for your audience. And so the tighter you get in your shot, the closer you are bringing your audience to that person. And it mimics what it feels like to be close to a person in that proximity. And when you are this close to a person, it's usually a pretty intimate or intense thing. You don't get this close to a person in a normal conversation, right? So visually, you can build intensity. The most paint by numbers approach is to shoot coverage where you've got your wide, your mediums, and your close-ups, and then that kind of editing order, wide, medium, close-ups, corresponds with your narrative arc in your intensity build. So you want to make sure that you have a variety of shot sizes. And even if you're doing a oneer, that oneer should also have a variety of shot sizes in it, where we have these moments of intensity where it gets closer, and then we kind of pull back and see more of the whatever's happening. So shot sizes, very key. Something to keep in mind when you are shooting in production for your coverage, that especially if you want people talking over each other in a fast way, or if they're arguing or they're having this kind of intense, conversation, that in the master shot, in the wide shot where we're seeing these two characters in the frame together interacting, yes, you want the actors to go fully into that scene and stepping on each other's lines and having it however the director wants it to be. But in the coverage of those actors, when you go into an over-the-shoulder shot or a close-up, you want to make sure that their lines of dialogue are clean and that they're not stepping on each other's lines at all. And that will give you those edit choices later where you can tighten it up as you want. So, and then you can, cut into for reactions and things like that. So, though you do have to be a little bit careful with performance in terms of making sure you're getting the reactions that you want in the right timing. But again, it's better to get clean audio, especially from an indie standpoint, than to have to pay for that after the fact.